If you want a hub that can control and expose SwitchBot's devices via Matter, can control IR and Bluetooth devices, has a built-in temperature humidity sensor and a motion sensor, as well as 30 Matter buttons, then get this, the SwitchBot Hub 3. So first off, thanks to SwitchBot for sending me their Hub 3 for test and review. So with their Hub 2, SwitchBot tried to make the Hub more than a device that you use to connect other smart home devices to by including a temperature humidity sensor, an IR blaster and 2 Matter buttons. Well, with their Hub 3, SwitchBot has done this and a lot more. It now features a 2.4-inch IPS display as well as physical controls, which we'll explore later in the video. And in the center of these physical controls, you'll find a physical dial. This is what SwitchBot calls the dial master, and you'll use this to control the volume of your TV and the temperature of your AC units. It's also used to navigate the interface of the Hub 3. The Hub 3 also features a built-in speaker, which is in preparation of the announced but yet to be released video doorbell. Once released, it's able to be configured as a doorbell chime. But at the moment, it only has one use case, which we'll touch upon later in the video as well. But first, let's see what you get in the box by unboxing the Hub 3, as well as setting it up in the app for the first time. In the box, you'll of course find the Hub 3 itself. So one of the new things with the Hub 3 is that SwitchBot has included a stand with the Hub. With the Hub 2, the stand was a kickstand that you could fold out and have the Hub stand by itself. But now it's removable. But you'll also get some double-sided tape so you can mount the Hub on the wall if that is what you prefer. SwitchBot has even included some drilling guides if you would prefer to drill it to the wall instead. The Hub 3 is mounted on the wall by applying double-sided tape on a mounting plate that is then placed on the wall. This means that you can still remove the Hub 3 even after installing it on the wall. So if you want to change out the USB-C cable or something, it's still doable without having to reapply some new double-sided tape. But other than that, you'll also get some manuals, of course, and a USB-C to USB-A cable. Just like with the Hub 2, the Hub 3 includes the temperature and humidity sensor in the cable instead of in the Hub itself. This has some advantages and some disadvantages. So the disadvantages would be that you obviously need this cable in order to get some humidity and temperature readings from the Hub 3. On the other hand, the upsides of this is that electronics tends to get warm when used. So having the temperature and humidity sensor inside of the device can often lead to wrong readings of the temperature. So by having the temperature sensor on a cable away from the electronics ensures that the temperature readings you do get are more accurate than otherwise would be. The cable itself is 2 meters long, which I'm guessing is plenty for most use cases. And besides the cable, you also get a power brick, a rare thing with new electronics these days. So that's a plus for me, SwitchBot. So once you've unboxed the Hub and all of the accessories, you want to set it up. Installing it to the mount is pretty easy. First, you got to take USB-C cable and make sure that it's oriented correctly so that the temperature sensor is facing outward. The orientation of the cable is different depending on whether you want to set it on a table or hang it on the wall, so just be aware of that. And then you have to take the USB-C cable and insert it into the input port. The Hub 3 does have 2 USB-C ports on the bottom of the device. The input is obviously for power and temperature and humidity readings, while the output is reserved for future peripherals. But afterwards, the other end of the USB cable has to be routed through the stand, and the stand can then be clicked into place with the Hub. If you have ever set up a SwitchBot device before, you know how easy and painless it often is. All you gotta do is open up the SwitchBot app, Make sure your Bluetooth is turned on and then press the plus in the right corner. Thanks to these devices using Bluetooth, the Hub 3 should show up almost immediately. Pressing it takes you through the setup process in which you'll be guided through adding your Wi-Fi and giving it a name and placing it in a room. Once all of that is done, the Hub is added to your app and you're ready to configure and use it. So to connect the Hub 3 to other Matter platforms such as SmartThings, Home Assistant, HomeKit or Homey, all you gotta do is hit the gear icon up in the top right corner of your Hub 3 in the SwitchBot app. Scroll down until you see the Matter option. And then it's simply a case of initiating the Matter pairing process. The app will give you a QR code that you can scan with another device. Or if you're setting it up on the same device that you're using, you can simply copy and paste the Matter code that the SwitchBot app gives you. You'll also find a Matter code on the back of the Hub 3 that you can scan or just enter manually. Then it's simply a matter of adding it to your platform home of choice. So via Matter, the Hub 3 will expose its temperature sensor, its humidity sensor, and its motion sensor. You also get the option to expose up to 30 Matter buttons, but we'll get to that in a moment. Just like with the Hub 2, you can also add your other SwitchBot devices to the list of things that has to be exposed via Matter. But unlike the previous limit of 8 SwitchBot devices, you can now add up to 30 SwitchBot devices and expose those via Matter instead. So that's a pretty substantial upgrade over previous hubs from SwitchBot. But for now, let's take a look at the features you get, as well as how to navigate it and what kind of options you get in the app. As I said in the beginning, the Hub 3 is filled with physical controls. And while some might prefer a touchscreen to navigate the UI, I actually really like having physical controls that I can interact with. It's really such a breath of fresh air to have a smart home company trying to do something different and including something that you can actually touch to interact with. You'll have to press buttons, tilt and rotate the middle dial, and press capacitive touch areas in order to control the UI of the Hub as well as external smart home devices. And yes, the dial master is as satisfying to rotate as it looks. The dial can also be pressed in 4 directions, and you'll be doing this when navigating both the UI on the Hub 3, but also when controlling external smart home devices. One specific use on the Hub 3 is on your home screen. When you press either the left or the right direction, you'll be taken to one of 2 shortcut screens that you can set up in the app. But besides the physical buttons, the Hub 3 also features 4 capacitive buttons right underneath the screen. These 4 capacitive buttons act as a shortcut button once you're on the home screen. So you can set up in the app which device you want each of the buttons to link to. Once controlling a device from SwitchBot, these 4 capacitive buttons will control the features of whatever device it is that you're controlling. I don't know how easy it is to see on the camera, but one thing I don't really like about these capacitive buttons is that they can be really difficult to see if you're not looking at them head on. But let's take a look at what SwitchBot calls the Hub 3's home screen. The home screen shows the current temperature and humidity inside, as well as the current outside temperature and a weather forecast for the next 12 hours. If you have any external SwitchBot sensors, you can also choose to have those values showed instead. So I, for example, have a bunch of the SwitchBot Meter Pro CO2 versions around my apartment. And for the Hub 3 in my living room, I have chosen to have the sensor values of this sensor shown on the display instead of the readings from the built-in temperature and humidity sensor. When connecting a Meter Pro CO2 version to the Hub 3, you will also get a small CO2 indicator in the left corner of the display. If you have a lock from SwitchBot, the status of that lock can also be configured to show up in the top right corner of the Hub 3. If you would rather see the time on the Hub 3 instead of temperature and humidity readings, The Hub 3 can also be configured to have a standby mode. The standby mode can be configured to activate after 30 to 120 seconds where no movement has been sensed. After that, the backlight of the buttons will turn off completely, and the Hub 3 will display the current time instead of readings from the sensors. You can also configure the standby mode to instead just turn off the backlight of the buttons and then still have the sensor reading shown. By pressing the small SwitchBot logo on the device, you'll get to a device list. This is a list of all of the devices that you have paired with the Hub or that you have paired in the SwitchBot app and then added to the Hub. In the app, you can rearrange these to appear on the list wherever you want them to appear. So for example, if you want the air purifier that you have to be the first device on the list, you can simply drag and drop the devices in the app. But let's take a look at some of the controls you'll get when you control a device from the Hub. Here it's kind of a mixed bag depending on what device that you're trying to control. So for most devices, you're not limited by only being able to turn them on or off. So for example, my SwitchBot air purifier table. With this, I can easily turn it on and off using the physical on and off buttons on the Hub. But I also get some extra functionality using the capacitive buttons right underneath the screen. With these, I can either set the mode that I want the air purifier to be set in, or I can use the capacitive button and the dial master to set a specific fan speed that I would like to have. I don't, however, get any readings from the device, which I think is a shame. So if I would like to see what the air quality in my room is at the moment, I can turn the air purifier on with the Hub, but it won't show me the current state of the air quality. I don't really get this, and I hope that this is something that will come in a future software update. But other devices you don't get as many features with. So take for example my SwitchBot K10 Plus Pro Combo. You would assume that a product with a name that long will get a lot of features on a product from the same company. But with my robot vacuum, I'm only able to either start or stop a cleaning cycle. It would have been nice to be able to set a specific room that I wanted to be cleaned, or to set a cleaning mode from the robot. So again, SwitchBot, maybe a software update can fix this. But no matter how you view the controls of SwitchBot's own devices, I think the way that they have chosen to implement Matter buttons is done in the right way. So the Hub 3 itself doesn't act as a Matter controller. That means that you can't add Matter accessories to the Hub 3. You can only add SwitchBot devices to the Hub 3 and then have those exposed via Matter to other smart home systems. But that means that if you do want to control third-party devices, you would have to use the 30 built-in Matter buttons to control them in other smart home platforms. And that is what I think is done right. So whenever you press one of the Matter buttons on the Hub 3, that press is registered in whatever smart home platform that you're using, for example, SmartThings or Home Assistant. And in those smart home platforms, you can then set up a routine or a scene to activate whatever smart home devices you want to have activated. Just like the other SwitchBot devices that can be added and exposed via Matter, the SwitchBot Hub 3 sees these Matter buttons as buttons that you need to add to the exposure list first. So if all you need is 2 Matter buttons to turn on and off the light, for example, you only have to add 2 of these Matter buttons. One downside is that all of the Matter buttons that you create are lumped together under this Matter option in the device list. You can't take a specific Matter button that you've created and have it show up on the main device list. Setting up one of the 4 capacitive buttons to act as a Matter shortcut also brings you to this list of Matter devices. It would have been really nice and most useful if you were able to set a specific Matter button and map it to that shortcut button. Again, SwitchBot, I see no reason why a software update shouldn't be able to fix this, so I hope that's a feature that is coming in the future. So that covers both Matter and SwitchBot devices, but the Hub can control many more devices than just that. Just like previous Hubs, the Hub 3 features an IR blaster. And SwitchBot claims that this IR blaster is up to 150% more powerful than IR blasters on previous Hubs. You can add IR devices from a database of more than 100,000 devices. And even if your device isn't on that list, The Hub 3 can learn IR commands from the remote that came with your device. That's really useful for stuff like air conditions or TVs. But what I like about the TV that I have is that the remote that comes with it isn't using IR, but rather Bluetooth. But luckily, the SwitchBot Hub 3 also includes Bluetooth and can connect to Bluetooth devices like my TV. So if you have an appliance like a TV or a sound system that supports the Bluetooth Classic protocol, you can control it from the Hub 3. Also, when you add a device via the Bluetooth Classic protocol, the dial master will act as the volume knob. The other buttons on the Hub 3 will then act as buttons to navigate the UI of your TV. So I can still enter my home screen on the TV and navigate HBO or Netflix or whatever I'm using. So really what you get with the Hub 3 is a full-fledged universal remote control. I have found, however, that if I turn my TV off, and it doesn't matter if I do it with my remote control or with the on and off buttons on the Hub 3, and I then turn the TV back on again, the connection between the Hub and the TV is lost. The Hub 3 will simply search for the TV before giving up. I have to fix this by restarting the Hub 3 or by re-establishing a connection via the TV's interface. I hope that SwitchBot will fix this with a software update, because if they do, the Hub 3 will probably be one of the smart home devices that I have that I will interact the most with. So one function that the Hub 3 has that is kind of neat, but also kind of clunky to use, is the alarm clock function. You also get to pick between these 3 alarm sounds to wake up to. But if I had to use it as an alarm clock, I absolutely need the ability to create, disable and delete alarms right on the device itself. As it stands at the moment, this can only be done via the SwitchBot app. If I had to pull out my phone to either set an alarm or to delete an alarm, I might as well just use my phone as the alarm clock. There's also no way to see your next alarm. So did you remember to set the correct time for the alarm? Did you remember to reactivate an alarm after a vacation? Well, if you're unsure, you once again have to get your phone out and check the SwitchBot app. So while I really do like the idea of using this as a bedside alarm clock in principle, I think the execution is clunky and flawed. But once again, SwitchBot, this is something that a software update could easily fix. So while I know that it might not sound this way, I actually really like the SwitchBot Hub 3. I really enjoyed using it, and I also think that the design makes it easy to place in whatever room that you're planning on using in it without making it look too alien and out of place. It might sound like I've been really harsh with the critique that I've given to the Hub 3, but that's only because I really like it and I really want it to succeed. And since the minor annoyances that I have experienced with it are all software based, I do have high hopes for SwitchBot to address these. The Hub 3 brings so much more functionality that I think that even if you do have a Hub 2 already, it's still worth getting the Hub 3. Just the fact that you can add up to 30 devices and expose them to Matter is worth upgrading in my opinion. And if you don't already have a Hub from SwitchBot and you know that you're going to get a lot more devices from SwitchBot, I think the Hub 3 is a no-brainer to start off with. The Hub 3 is available on SwitchBot's own website or via Amazon for $120 at the moment. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description if the Hub 3 sounds interesting to you. If you still have any questions about the Hub 3 that I didn't answer, feel free to ask away in the comments or send me a message and I will be sure to reply as soon as I can. I also have more devices coming my way, some of which are from SwitchBot, some of which are not. So if that sounds interesting, be sure to stay tuned. Otherwise, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.